Hey, Derek, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. I guess first off, just want to ask you about Ben. I know he was out on the ice with you guys, and there's been a lot of, I guess he's been a pretty big source of inspiration for you guys. Can you just give me a thought on him and having him around?
Yeah, I think it's just fun to have him around. Kind of brings a positive energy. You guys are laughing, smiling, and it's just fun to put a smile on his face too. Seeing him laughing and smiling makes us do the same thing. So it brings a little joy and fun to the rink.
Does it bring things a little bit into perspective as well when you see a little guy like that going through what he's going through?
Yeah, I think so. I think for most guys in there, it's a little dose of reality to realize that, you know, there's bigger things out there than hockey, and we're trying to build up for a playoff run here. But at the end of the day, there's things in life, a lot of things that are bigger than hockey. So it brings that into the locker room for sure. Now
you got 2 games here. What do you guys want to use these games as, kind of as a lead into the playoffs?
I mean, I don't know if we're thinking of it that way. We don't need to use them in any regard. I think we're just preparing for them like we would any other game. We're just preparing. We want to have our game in order. And it doesn't matter if it's game 80, 81, 82, or game 1 of the playoffs. We have to have that consistent mindset of being able to play our game night in and night out. So that's our preparation for tonight.
And I guess when it comes to knowing your opponent, how much does that help, knowing that you'll have a few days to kind of prepare, but you don't want to look past these 2 opponents, but at what point do you start focusing on LA?
Yeah, we haven't really started focusing in terms of our meetings or anything like that. I'm sure that'll happen after the game tomorrow. But like I said, we're just preparing like this is a big game for us against San Jose. And that's how we're going to come to the rink tonight, is to play a big game.
Thanks, sir.
Hey, Derek. Can you just talk about having fans, a full crowd for the playoff games, and what that will mean and what kind of potential impact that could have for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here last year with 0 fans in the playoffs, but I'm sure it was a different experience. Yeah, I think everyone's just excited for the energy in the building. You can kind of feel it at the last few home games. The energy's building. The city, the buzz in the city is kind of building as well. So, yeah, like I said, I wasn't here last year, so I can't compare it to that, but I'm sure it's a stark contrast.
For yourself personally, how much does making sure, I guess, that you're rested for the playoff games come into account? Do you prefer just to kind of play the same role that you have in these final 2 games and feel like, you know, you're sharp and in a rhythm, or does rest come into, you know, your mind as you go into these playoff games?
I'm sure every guy is different, but for me personally, I don't think rest is what I would prefer, most guys would prefer. We kind of went that route my first year in Calgary when we won the West, and we put it in cruise control for the last few weeks of the season, and we all know what happened there. So I just don't think that's how you want to go into playoffs. It's not a light switch. You can't turn it off for a couple of games, then expect to turn it on for game 1 of playoffs. It's just not how playoff hockey works. So guys might differ in my opinion on that, but that's how I feel about it.
Derek, you had lots of coaches over your years, you know, all the way back. Jay seems like he's showing up at the right time for this team. He seems like the right coach for the right team at the right moment somehow. Can you let us in a little on what you're experiencing with him compared to all the other coaches you've had? What are the things maybe he's doing that you haven't seen before?
Geez, you make it sound like I've been traded around and seen a bunch of coaches. No, I'm older, so I've seen a bunch of coaches for sure. He's just been exactly what we need. He's been similar to what I had in Carolina with Bill Peters. I didn't have Rod Brindamore as a coach there, but I'd say he's similar to him as well, in that he's super interested about details and structure, and that's what he's implemented in our game, and I think that's kind of what was missing from our game the early parts of the year too. So he's a good communicator. He's really open. When I was getting scratched there a couple weeks ago, he called me and let me know right away, and we had a conversation. So it wasn't like I was in the dark or there was a lack of communication there. So it's for me, it's been a real positive experience. I think he's brought a lot of things into our dressing room that we've needed, addressed a lot of things in our game that we've needed to be addressed, and I've enjoyed having him around.
Compared to the old school coach that often will coach as if we're still in, previous years, does today's player need that coach? Is this the right, does today's player need a different type of coach than the guy maybe you had 8, 9, 10 years ago?
Well, I think kids are just different now. Everybody has a different personality and everybody reacts differently. That old school mentality where you're kind of, beating guys over the head with the broomstick, what you want to say or whatever is, some guys react to that. Some guys need that. And then some guys need more of a caring touch where you say, hey, these are the parts of your game that need to be addressed, show you some video and a little bit more of a softer touch, I guess we'll say. So I think the hard part of being a coach is trying to balance all those different personalities and being able to bring out the best of everyone, and not everyone's going to react to the same mentality the same. So you have to have a different mentality with different guys. And so, yeah, that's how I feel.
Derek, you've played the Kings 4 times this year. What makes them successful at what they do? It looks like they try to negate rush chances, and they have 2 really good checking centers in Kopitar and Danault as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll analyze their game more as we move towards game 1, but I think that they play a really structured game. They play a defensively sound game. It's not a game where you play them and there's a bunch of 2-on-1s or 3-on-2s. Your scoring chances are few and far between. You have to capitalize on those chances, and you have to be patient in your game. You can't get outside of your game to try and create chances, because they're just going to turn the puck over and create their own chances. You can't turn it into a track meet. They won't allow it to. So, yeah, they're a good team. They've obviously had success there in the past. They have the core there that knows how to win. And if you ask me, come playoff time, that's how you win. You're defensively sound. You don't give up much, and you take advantage of your opportunities.
Does it seem odd to play an LA team without Drew Doughty, who plays so much on the blue line? Does a player on the opposition notice that Doughty's not there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's a world-class player. I think there's a couple of other faces there that would fit in that category, Kopitar and Brown. Doughty, obviously, quick, and those guys, that core that's been there for so long, that has brought the glory to that city a couple times. So, yeah, Doughty's a big part of their lineup, but I think they've also had some young guys that have stepped in and played really well, so can't really count that as an advantage.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Derek, so you've played NHL playoff games in front of thousands and thousands of fans. You played, youth sports games where there'd be student sections, and you've played in Europe where there's probably a lot of chanting and drums and all that kind of stuff. Do you have a most memorable sort of fan experience or fan environment that you played in?
Well, you almost took me through my whole career there a little bit. Yeah, I'd say in Sweden was probably one of my most memorable experiences. The crowd there, it's just like that soccer mentality where the crowd's standing the whole time. They have the drums and the chants, and they have their songs that they're singing, and it's just it's different than North America, and I thought it was a cool experience.
Just one for me, Derek. How would you assess your team's ability to identify and fix problems in your game as they pop up along the way here?
Well, I think that's Woody's job, and Woody's been really good at that. I think that's we were searching for that earlier in the year where things weren't going our way, and it just felt like we were being told to work harder or just be better, and we were searching for more answers. And I think Woody's done a good job of bringing those answers in, saying, hey, this part of your forecheck or your neutral zone, your face-off detail, all those things are important, and these are things that you can do to get better in those areas. And I think playoffs, specifically to your question there, is about adapting, being able to change when the other team changes. And I think Jay will be really good at that because he's shown it so far during his time here.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks.